To the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. The political temperatures keeps on increasing in Mount Kenya. And while the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki tries to square it out with the ex-DP Rigathi Gachagua, Kindiki, who has been funded by the state and then is organizing what are disguised as economic forums, is actually dishing money to Mount Kenya residents so that they can go back to William Ruto's camp. But this job is proving to be a difficult task, and in a heated rebuttal towards Gachagua, an animated Kindiki seemed to be dragging Uhuru Kenyatta in his 2027 campaign messaging, and strategy that, if you ask me where I'm seated, it is a bit a desperate move, but also a misplaced one. Remember, Uhuru Kenyatta is not in ballot in 2027. So in this podcast, we are going to look at the weekend talkback between Kindiki and Rigathi Gachagua, and the context that William Ruto is trying to brew between the two is, according to me, a failed one. I'm going to demonstrate to you why Kindiki will not be able to neutralize Rigathi Gachagua in Mount Kenya. But before we get much into that, I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our videos. And thank you very much for supporting this podcast. We do this each and every day because of your support, and we normally say that you need to listen to this podcast because here we give politics a wider perspective, and of course we go just beyond the headlines and the flashy news news stories. Kindly make sure you subscribe. Now, Kindiki met over 30 Kikuyu musicians last week on Friday, a video that I analyzed here. The current meeting, amongst other objectives, was to try to lure these musicians so that they can start singing pro-Ruto songs and also run caravan around Mount Kenya to try to neutralize Rigathi Gachagua. And what later came is a rebuttal from Rigathi, who then has been taking a single opportunity that he finds to tell Mount Kenya region how the money Kithure Kindiki has been given is a money tainted with Gen Z blood, and discrediting Kindiki's forays to try to neutralize Rigathi Gachagua.
Hawa wasanii wameenda pale kwa huyo jamaa, na huyo jamaa mikono yake imejaa damu ya Gen Z. Siku Gen Z Ruto amesema watoto wauawe, yeye ndiye alikuwa CS wa Interior, yeye ndiye alisimamia watoto wetu wakauawa. Kwa hivyo hiyo pesa mnaenda kuchukua pale iko na damu ya watoto wetu wa Gen Z. Wameenda pale wamepewa kila mtu 50,000 kuuza jamii, atuwakuje watudanganye. Wazee wameniambia namna hii, hao wasanii waombe msamaha. Wasipoomba msamaha, tuwache kusikiza nyimbo zao. Number 2, zile entertainment joint wanaenda wasiitwe huko tena. Na wewe kama ni mwenye club ukiita huyo mtu, customers wahame waende pahali ingine. Tena ile mtandao you unfollow them. Si ndio? You unfollow them. Because wameenda kuchukua shilingi 50,000. Na pahali wanaenda entertainment, wale watu wameenda pale kwa sababu akili imechemuka, kwa sababu ile Kasongo ametusumbua. Wanaenda kuwatubuiza ndio akili zitulie. Hao wameenda kukaa na wale watu ambaye wametuumiza, wametuletea hizo shida. So you unfollow those artists, those who don't apologize to the community, and entertainment joint owners, you stop inviting them, and where you invite them, people should move from those clubs and go elsewhere.
Now this statement brew a storm, and one thing I can tell you here is I did analysis before even Rigathi Gachagua spoke about this, made this statement. And for better part of Friday night, those artists, those musicians were under pressure from their own supporters about that move. Some of them could even go, and I think Muraya even went public and said that SHA is not working. And he received a backlash because himself, he's been running fundraisers, health appeals to try people offset their bills. And it was a big challenge on his end, even with his own supporters. So when Rigathi came through, I think the state then realized that it's Rigathi who is inciting the locals against the move by those musicians. And clearly, when Kindiki went to Kiambu, Kindiki was supposed to respond. He actually convened the said economic forums that, if you ask me, are just political forums. And speaking agitated, looking a bit more agitated, Kindiki actually did a rebuttal against Rigathi. And interestingly, he dragged Uhuru Kenyatta's name, saying that when he was fighting for Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto to be released from The Hague, Rigathi Gachagua was nowhere. So according to Kindiki, Kindiki is trying to say that he has done something for the community compared to Rigathi. I am not sure, but I'm strictly convinced that this Hague credit that Kindiki is taking is not his. And number two, it is not politically viable in 2027. But I want you to look at how he spoke very angry.
Mimi my friend, mimi Mungu amenisaidia, na hii siasa ni siasa ya ujinga ambao tunaleta hapa Central Kenya. Siasa ya vitisho, siasa hakuna maendeleo, ni vitisho na kuangaisha watu. Kuna mtu, wacha niwaulize watu ya Kiambu. Kuna mtu alitafuta hii kazi kunishinda mimi? Tangu siku ile Uhuru na Ruto kabla washikane, mimi ndio nilikuwa natetea hao Hague. Sikuona watu ambao saa hii wanaongea. Jamani, simuliniona Hague? Simuliniona Hague nikijaribu kutoa uhuru witu? Imwanyorire kore Hague? Geshira ni oto wa Uhuru wa Kenyatta na munini wake nigetha maume korea maoke gũkũ bũrũri-inĩ mateithia andũ a Kenya. Sikuona watu wengine wanaongea saa hii, sikuwaona. Na hapa hii Central hii, hiyo siasa ya vita ikome. Hatutaki maneno ya vita hapa. Yes, kwa sababu sisi tulifundishwa siasa nzuri na mzee Kenyatta na mzee Kibaki na Uhuru Kenyatta, ya kuongea vizuri na wananchi na kukaa vizuri na wale viongozi wengine, kwa sababu ukiwa peke yake uwezi tosha kusaidia watu wote ukiwa peke yako. Si tunahitaji ma MCA wetu na wabunge wetu na gavana wetu, kila mtu tunahitaji, ili tuhakikishe kwamba agenda ya mwananchi imesonga mbele. Kwa hivyo pole kidogo, nimechapa kidogo kwa sababu.
Now, number one, I've always said politicians don't get angry. They do things that they have to be that way. He chooses to make it that way. He chooses to come out in anger so that, number one, ni kutetemesha. You know, he's a deputy president, so I can say tuheshimiane, usitushtue. he's looking for, is thinking that strategy is what is going to counter Rigathi's combative edge. But there is something that I need to tell Kindiki's handlers. Rigathi doesn't speak with such kind of anger. Rigathi speaks with a lot of bombshells. He has a lot of bombshells. You must not go angry. No. But he has a lot of bombshells. And that is the problem. You know, you can go after Rigathi, but so long as Rigathi still have media platform, he's going to release more bombshells. Now, that is what is causing the breakup between Ruto and the people. Instead of tuheshimiane, you should, I think the state should actually focus on undoing, or rather countering the bombshells that Rigathi says. When Rigathi says there is 20 policemen from Nandi were sent to go and attack Medu, those are the things you need to respond to, because those are the things that people buy. When he says there is a hotel being built in Karen and it is public land, not in Karen, in Ngong Forest, and it is public land, those are the issues. When he says that 3 trillion is being stolen and President Ruto blah blah, those are the issues. Now, he's angry, and of course, dragging Uhuru Kenyatta's name is to try to counter the narrative by Rigathi Gachagua that his billions are having Gen Z blood. I don't know. I know maybe someone is advising Kindiki that when I say that I helped Uhuru Kenyatta in Hague, and Uhuru Kenyatta, remember the Hague discussion borders 2007 post-election violence. So I don't even know the rationale behind it, because when Rigathi mentioned 207, there was a storm, and they said, no, don't remind us about 207. Don't remind us about 207. Now, Kindiki seemed to be pulling the same thing, that saying, no, I released Uhuru Kenyatta, I helped Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto. And it is also a lie, because Kindiki was not Uhuru's lawyer, and Kindiki was not Ruto's lawyer. And number two, it is Uhuru Kenyatta that unchained Ruto from State House, from ICC. It was under Uhuru Kenyatta. By that time, I believe that case was influenced by a lot of infiltration and the kind of money that Kenyatta family had. And Kenyatta family really saved William Ruto from it. So, and again, far from it, 20 years after post-election violence, more than 15 years, more than 10 years after those cases collapsed, I don't know how it will be of interest for a Mount Kenya person to vote and support Kindiki because Kindiki was Ruto's lawyer. Come on. Come on. I find that as a desperate narrative that, to me, it doesn't serve the purpose that Kindiki want to achieve. Now, you will also keenly realize that even as Kindiki is talking very angry, the people are not apigiwi ile kelele. No, ile kelele ya, no, ile kelele ya, the noise in it. You know, the kind of applause that you would have expect. Because I wanted to imagine it was someone, it was Kindiki, it is Rigathi was making that statement. Hawoni, the kind of it is just a handful of people there. So it only tells you that the conflict between Kindiki and Gachagua, that conflict is not one that is very strong. And I think that strategy seemed not to be buying. And I want to tell you, the issue of the Gen Z, the state will not escape the accountability question of it. I listened to a pastor who has made some bishop has made some statement here I would want you to listen to.
James talks about demonic wisdom. Demonic wisdom is there. This is unscriptural. It harbors a lot of bitterness, envy, selfish ambition. We have seen this demonic wisdom with many of our politicians, who all they want is to have everything for themselves. They don't care. You saw this demonic wisdom do work the other day. The moment our Gen Zs went out to say there is wrong governance, the demonic people in this country sponsored goons. That is what we call demonic wisdom. Because in sociology, and go and study, they say, if you want something not to be accepted by the people, all you need to do is to make it evil. Let me give you an example. At one time, there was a movement in this country that was called Mungiki. Not the second one. The first one started by Gonya Wagakonya. That movement, its aim was to get land back to the peasants. The moment the rich people in this country and the politicians realized that their land is going to go, they sponsored an evil Mungiki. It was simply sponsored. This is what happened the other day. The moment Gen Zs went out, our politicians and influential people sponsored other young people to come and fight and to go and throw stones. And our young people were killed. We lost our young people. Why? Because of somebody who is demonic. And go and tell them. It's called demonic wisdom. And they think that they are wise. Actually, I can see them all over the country now running all over, thinking they are wise people. They are demonic. And unless they repent, they'll go to hell.
Now, I want to show you something. Kindiki spoke after Ichung'was had spoken. Do you know why Kindiki is saying hatutapigiwa kelele? Kindiki was very angry. And Kindiki is very angry. Kindiki is very angry. Do you know, just the same event, Kimani Ichung'wa was heckled. And when you listen to the heckling video when Kimani Ichung'wa was heckled, the audience there is referring to Gachagua. So that is telling you how things are not really standing better for Kithure Kindiki. And that is it. So that has been a problem. Now, looking at even why Kindiki has to get angry, he needed to go for, he went for musicians, because to him, and I find out that is not the best. Why? Watch this video of let's watch this video of Samido singing, and the people singing Gachagua's name and saying one time. Now, that is Samido. I want to ask you a question, and let's just critical thinking. Can you allude to Samido as the author of One Term? No, he's not. He's not the author of One Term. Now, the musicians, the radio presenters, the clergy, the elected leaders, the community elders, the business people. The one term is not something that came from a specific group. The one term is expression of frustration by the whole team. So even as you try to, and I know even as you try to go for musicians, I felt even if Samido next time does not say one term in a club, does that negate the fact that the one time is something that is going on the ground? And yes, I want to appreciate that. The musicians have a little bit of, they have a huge following. If you look at Jose Gatorora, Karangu Muraya, if you look at Samido, and you can name them, Martino Janet, quite a number of them. They have a bit of some support base. Now, this strategy of using musicians had even failed. You know, it was even tried. This is not the first time it's being tried. It had been tried earlier, and it failed. It failed. So I don't think the way the president is handling, the way the state is handling it, is going to give them the kind of desirable outcome probably they are looking for. And exactly, if you want to understand why Ruto, Kindiki, Kindiki Gachagua contest is not going to solve the problem. Today, the president was in Meru and was accompanied by Kithure Kindiki. Then he praised Kithure Kindiki kwamba nimepata deputy, huyu ni mzuri, huyu anajua hii, huyu anajua hii. Guys, do you know, I want you to count the number of claps as he was praising Kindiki. You know, just listen to the whole video. Mimi nasemanga mimi sitaki propaganda. I need to show you so that when I'm saying that this was not this way, yourself nataka usikize.
Na mimi nataka niwashukuru watu wa hapa sehemu hii kwa kunipatia huyu muungwana anaitwa Profesa Kithure Kindiki. Huyu muungwana niwaambie sasa niko na deputy. Huyu anaelewa barabara, anajua stima, anajua mpango ya serikali ya SHA, ni mtu mwadilifu. That is how we are going to change Kenya. Nyinyi mnanielewa? Yes. Ananisaidia kusukuma hii gurudumu. Mumemuona sehemu mbalimbali akisukuma gurudumu ya Kenya. I am very proud that I have a deputy who understands government, who understands what we are doing in agriculture, who understands what we are doing in infrastructure, who understands what we are doing in education, who understands what we are doing in health, and is supportive to the ministers and to me to make sure that Kenya is going forward. Sio mtu ya kisirani, sio mtu ya hasira, sio mtu ya chuki, sio mtu ya ukabila, ni mtu anaelewa deputy president si mtu ya Meru. Deputy president ni wa Republic of Kenya. That is the man I have. Tunaelewana jameni? So, tuendelee namna hiyo. Na hiyo ndio Kenya itasonga mbele kama risasi.
This clip. How many people were clapping when Ruto was praising Kindiki? And probably Ruto is putting Kindiki as the reason why Mount Kenya should vote for Ruto. No. The president cannot hide behind Kindiki. It's not possible. You cannot hide. You cannot send Kindiki now to people need to vote for me because sasa huyu ni deputy mzuri. You know, I look at it, and curiously, even in Kibera, the president was saying, niko na mtu mwingine mpumbavu anasema tusichukue nyumba nini. Allow me just to play also that one. Just let's listen to that one here. And this is my position. The best way to counter Rigathi is to answer the questions he's raising, because he's getting away with it. Wewe mtu anakuambia, you know, he was in Kibera. Rigathi anasema kuna hoteli inajengwa pale kwa forest, na hiyo forest ni ya serikali, na kuna mtu anajenga hoteli. Nani anajenga hoteli? Even senator is asking. Instead of asking, when Rigathi is asking those questions, instead of responding to those ones, you're like, oh, that person is kumbafu, that person is mjinga. That strategy has never worked. And I want to tell the Kenya Kwanza team this way. Use, for example, Raila Odinga. For the last 15 years that Raila Odinga has been in Kenyan politics, actively vying for presidency from 2007, let's look at 2013, 2017, 2022. Those who have always used Raila as a hate object, when Raila Odinga was coming and saying, NYS imeibwa, pesa imeibwa, he was called mkoroki, tutakufanya nini. He was called so many things. But look what happened. Days later, he's vindicated. He's vindicated. Now, and now it has not, even that did not work. So in Mount Kenya, if that is the same strategy, I've even seen AI images being created in Twitter. To me, I don't think that will not work. And of course, do you know, Ruto is telling Kindiki the way Kindiki is not tribal, not thinking. But do you know economic forums? I want to use my example, Seya County has Ugenya constituency, Ugunja, Alego Usonga, Bondo, Rarieda, and Game. All those 6 constituencies, the deputy president with his economic forums has never stepped even in one. Not even in one. And he's gone to Kiambu thrice. He's been oscillating between Kiambu, Nyeri, Murang'a, Embu, Nyararua, Laikipia. And then you want to tell us that person is not tribal, or that is not tribalism. Come on. Even Farouk Kibet, who is dispatched in Western Kenya, is yet to step in. The other day, they just went to Migori. The nationalist deputy president is yet to step in a single constituency in Mombasa. Bwana tunadanganyana. And this is why I feel this is not work. Kindiki is another candidate for slaughter. And let me tell you, you're not going to have Kindiki as a running mate if you have to maintain Raila as your big brother. It can't. I was just having a discussion with someone that Raila will be in the ballot, not to win. But Raila will be in the ballot just to try to woodwink and show hope and consolidate ODM, not even with the presidency. And if he's not on the ballot, then Kindiki, if they have to maintain relationship with Raila, with Ruto, then Kindiki will not be the running mate. So I feel for him. Because kina ODM, hawa ni watu ambao ni kutaka yao. They will not allow Kindiki. The other thing is Ruto is facing a breakup with his voters based on promises and flaws. When you talk about affordable housing, people are not seeing it. When you talk about, as much as you are staging people being moved from slum, I don't know to where, you're talking about you get so many people to praise Shah, but I want to tell you, not that Shah is not working. Shah is working. The only problem that has been here was about paying those hospitals. Payment zenye zinaenda kwa hospitali ndio zina delay. And now that makes some hospitals to protest. Not that the system is not working. The system should work and it's working. The challenge is zile hospitali hazipati pesa, and approvals to hospitals is also done in a selective manner. That is the only problem. Now, the other issue here is Rigathi represents Ruto's former allies, dissenting voices. Now, while Kindiki is responding to Gachagua throughout, does he know that Nyoro is attacking Rigathi left, right, and is attacking President Ruto left, right, and center? Does he know that there are so many Kikuyu leaders who during the day praise the president, but at night, when they make calls to journalists and speak to journalists, they speak a different language? Do they know that? And the 2027 vote is not about Uhuru. So bringing Uhuru's case in this context, to me, is a desperate move to sway a region, and it can't yield the fruit that is needed. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Let's meet in the next. Natembeya is making some inroads, some serious activities in Western Kenya, and keep it here, because when you come back, I'm gonna be breaking it down, just we see how it works there. Thank you.